Hey, She Army, Crystal Renee here. Welcome to episode 33 of the Simply She podcast live. I'm your host, and today we're going to be talking about having multiple passions or projects that you're working on. So first things first, we are going live with StreamYard, so please make sure that you allow StreamYard access to be able to leave comments and ask questions under your name. We definitely want to hear from you, and we want to know who's watching out there. So please make sure you allow StreamYard access. You can revoke it at any time. So don't be shy. We love questions. So let's go ahead and just get into our topic. So oftentimes I receive questions about how did I know what I wanted to do in business? How did I get started? How did I come upon to do all the things that I'm doing? I do have multiple businesses. You guys know I have a pole and fitness studio, and then I have an aerial dance brand, and then I also have Simply She, which is my podcast and my coaching business as well. So some things are related, some things are completely not related. But what I often tell people is that sometimes we don't always know everything that we're going to be doing or end up doing in life, right? Some of our passions and our projects, we find them later in life, or they find us, quite frankly. And so, we feel led in a new direction to try something new, or maybe even revive something old, which is pretty cool, right?
Mm-hmm.
So regardless of, all the many talents that we may have, it's important to build and maintain that balance within your life and develop the harmony amongst all the things that you really want to do and what's important to you. And so my guest this evening, Kendra, is going to tell us a little bit about that. So I'm going to go ahead and introduce her. Kendra Muecke is a singer, songwriter, writer, actress, and published author. She performs under the stage name Kendra and the Bunnies as a psychedelic folk rock Americana and spoken word artist. Her style heavily utilizes the element of storytelling through song, painting a creative experience for the listener. She has released 2 albums, charted globally at number 38 on the digital radio charts, published 2 books, writes for several online music magazines, is SAG-AFTRA eligible, and tours nationally. She is known to support and volunteer with Strings for Hope, Nashville, Artists for Trauma out of Los Angeles, Camp Winter Rainbow out of Northern California, Rex Foundation, and Smoke Free Music Cities. She graduated from Pepperdine University with a BFA in Theater Arts and attended the Musicians Institute in the Independent Artist Program. Her mission is founded on a peaceful collaborative experience and shared understanding. Welcome, Kendra.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me on the show, Crystal.
Yeah, no. So let's get right into it. Let's tell our listeners you have a lot of talents, as we can see. So tell us how you got started.
Okay, I got started years ago when I was just a wee little kid. I saw, I just was always kind of an extrovert and kind of a ham when it came to performing in front of my family during holidays. And I just always kind of explored that outgoing side of myself. And then around age 4, I saw just on the TV screen in our house, a gal on the TV screen. And I turned to my mom and I said, "Is that what being a movie star is?" And she was like, "Yeah." I was like, "That's what I want to do." So that following week, we took me to audition for the local theater. And it just kind of started from there, embedding myself in musical theater, vocal lessons, dance lessons, acting lessons, as well as going to school. Traditionally, I really, really like school. I love learning as well. So I started in theater super young. And then in high school, I discovered rock and roll music and poetry. And that opened up a whole new avenue for me as an artist to start being really creative with the things that I bring to the table and the things that I compose. So poetry became a really big part of my life in high school. Then in college, went to college, and in college, I studied theater arts as well. And we learned so much about the backstory of the history of theater and how it comes from rituals and spiritual aspects of life, and, the interaction between different civilizations from years ago and even currently today. Plays really talk about a lot of different stuff that's going on in society. So I started to get going through like a spiritual awakening or spiritual transformation of myself during college, a lot of that driven by the spirit and the feeling that I felt while being in the theater, that led to me picking up the guitar a little bit more seriously, and then starting to put all those creative efforts together. Maybe like a year or so after college, I kind of did the whole college thing and then post-college grad situation of like, what is life? Who am I? What am I doing? And then all that came together as being a songwriter. I feel like I can shine, in so many different aspects: the actress, the philosophical poet, the part of me that just wants to rock and roll, and most importantly, the part of me that wants to bring people together in shared understanding.
Okay, wonderful. So I heard like 3 or 4 different passions. What would you say was like the standout for you immediately? Like, was it just the acting piece?
Mm-hmm.
Was it singing? Like, which one, like, you're like, okay, yeah, this is what I'm going to be doing forever?
I think the singing part, I always like the acting part because there's this certain element where I can kind of put up that fourth wall in between me and the audience. And I feel like it allows for, ironically, so much more privacy of the self, or like I get to investigate those like inner lands of who I am and who the character is, which is very important. But I have to say probably singing, because there was, talent shows when I was younger, and I always wanted to be doing a singing act versus a dancing or acting act for the talent show. Yeah.
Okay, cool. I did choir when I was younger. I can't say
Yeah.
that is my standout. I think is dance. So it's like we stuck with that. But
Right.
singing, I don't know. But I'm definitely would look forward to hearing some of the stuff that you have put
Thanks.
out there.
Yeah.
So Kendra and the Bunnies, that is a very unique name. What is the backstory behind the stage name?
Oh my gosh, it's kind of like so cheesy, but I love it. The backstory of the name comes from a few different places. First one would be the character of the White Rabbit from Alice in Wonderland. I like to say that I deal on and off with anxiety. I've gotten really good at letting those thoughts kind of flow by, instead of like grabbing them and being like, okay, great, I'm going to worry about this for 5 hours. Okay, wonderful. I'll worry about this for 5 minutes. All that, I've kind of gotten better just letting that sail by. But in the past, I was very, very anxious. And so a character that I started to resonate with was just this realization I had that the White Rabbit in Alice in Wonderland, at the beginning of the story, he runs in and he's like, I'm late. And he's just like really freaked out. And I had this revelation one time, and I was like, oh, but he's the first character we meet besides Alice in the story, and he's what gets the story to start, and he's who she follows along the way. So it's like he's on perfect timing, and he's in the right place at the right time. And then I realized, oh wow, if I zoom out, there's so much more about the story of the elements and everything interlocking with the universe. So if I'm just focused on my worries or being in traffic or things like that, I need to remember there's a bigger picture. Maybe I'm stuck in traffic because if I'm 5 minutes later, I get a parking spot. Maybe it's something even more important than that. But I have to like zoom out and see what the big picture is. Additionally, I would say, because that's a White Rabbit. Additionally, I would say the bunnies come from like the Playboy bunnies. Like, I mean, I'm a blonde, and I kind of add this whole thing of like, I might be very philosophical and have so much to offer, and like be a character and philosophical, and yeah, have so much to offer. But on the other hand, I might just be like a blonde girl who with a lot of big ideas who just likes to perform. So I like to sometimes I go in between those two, and I like to bring them up to the front and center, because as a female, I feel like a lot of times it is like, oh, well, you're a female, so why don't we put you in this outfit? We'll focus on this. Have you thought about doing this? And it's just a lot of it has to do with who I am and the identity of me too. So I like to go in between the two, kind of add like a tongue-in-cheek element. And some of my music is really serious, and then some of it is really lighthearted and just fun.
Yeah, definitely. That resonates with me as well. When you talk about, I talk a lot about living in the divine feminine, and basically being able to dial up your feminine and your masculine side. You can't ignore either. It's about having balance in between the two, and like having that Playboy bunny side is like, more feminine, but knowing what you want to do, having those goals is more masculine, right? So having
Right.
that having that balance in between those two, like you said, you had serious music, you had lighthearted music.
Mm-hmm.
So definitely a lot of synergy there when it comes to like what you've put out. And then also I think that's really
Yeah.
cool, like the story with the white rabbit. Cause I'm like, follow the white rabbit, go down the rabbit hole. Like that's
Yeah.
like those are like so common sayings, but I can definitely see um like I can definitely see like how all those things would be connected. And it's like
Mm-hmm.
that's a really cool backstory. Like the White Rabbit from Alice in Wonderland, definitely one of my favorite stories too. Uh,
Totally.
growing up as well. But like you said, the rabbit's always in the right place at the right time. So when you think about it in that respect, like it's like, oh yeah, I'll
Yeah.
always be in the right place at the right time, and that's a part of who I am. That's pretty cool.
Even the thoughts that come to me and like the different things I say, 'cause sometimes I'll get like in social situations, I'm like, what am I going to say next? What am I going to say next? What am I going to say next? And it's like, whatever I say next is perfect. Just let it flow.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. That's how I feel. I'm like, yeah, that's what I was meant to say. That's what it was meant to be. You
Right.
know.
Yeah.
So what would you say your favorite genre of music is?
Ooh, I love all sorts of genres. I have to say my two top my okay, I'm gonna list three top favorite. Of course, rock and roll music. Just, classic rock. I do like some of the newer rock, but the newer section of rock I like jam bands, kind of chill ambiance, not necessarily ambiance, but jam bands. So rock and roll. Then I have a big love for hip hop and rap music. I grew up in Houston, Texas, where we have an amazing rap scene, local rap scene. So a lot of influence comes from that, like DJ Screw and stuff like that. Just so much being from where I am as well, and the different ways that things are said. There's so much of like a poetry aspect to the way that people rap and stuff. I love that. And then the third genre that I really like would probably be like new age, spiritual, kind of electronic ambiance type music, just like low key. You can put it on the speaker and have it low key in the background, or you can like blast it at a music festival, that kind of stuff.
Cool.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, I was like, I don't really have. Well, I mean, I do have my favorite genre, but then like I listen to everything, so it's always hard to pick. It's kind of like what's in the moment, and since I like dance a lot, it's like what moves me. So
Hmm.
electronica is probably like where I'm living now these days.
Yeah.
But I think that's super super cool. And I love artists from Houston as well. So
Totally. Very cool.
yes. So, what would you say, or who would you say were your inspirations growing up? Like, did you identify with a certain singer or a certain actress?
Yeah, I definitely did. I think hands down it would be Britney Spears as the singer I identified with. My first couple albums, actually, I had one cassette tape, and then it was like the age of compact discs right after that. So my first cassette tape was the Spice Girls album, and then the first CD I got was Britney Spears' "Hit Me Baby One More Time." I love Britney Spears. She grew up in Louisiana. She became famous right when I was a younger girl, and I've gotten to watch her whole life. And well, it's been interesting. I really like her music as well. And then as far as actresses go, there's been a number of different actresses over the years. When I was in like middle school, I was really obsessed with the show The OC, so I really liked Misha Barton at the time. And then I'd say as I've gotten older, my favorite actress is Jessica Lange. She does some really great emotional work in like the 80s. She does great work in every single project that she's in, but my favorite project she's in is Frances, the movie Frances from the 80s. It
Mm,
is a true story about an actress from the 1940s who was one of the first people she was a really outspoken female who like stood up for her viewpoints, philosophically. That's like the word of the day, but she stood up for her viewpoints philosophically, I guess politically, I'd say, because there's some parts in the movie like she goes to Russia in the 1940s as an actress, or 1940s, and that was like a big deal at the time too. And she is also outspoken as a female. She didn't want to be told what to do by the studio. She didn't want to be told what to do by her mom. She didn't want to be dictated and told what to think and how to act and where to be and be overworked.
mm,
So she ended up her family ended up putting her in an insane asylum because she kept standing up for herself. Mind you, it's the 40s. She kept standing up for herself. They put her in an asylum. And this true story, she was one of the first people to get a lobotomy. So there's also footage of Frances Farmer after she's out of the asylum, post lobotomy, where she's just like kind of a whole different person. She went from being very, very outspoken to very reserved. Everything's okay. I accept it as it is. And to see that transition is really immense, because as a female or as an artist or as an individual who thinks outside the box, says some weird stuff, definitely publishes like some out there poetry and whatnot, to think that someone could be painted into a corner where it's like, oh, well, we can just label them as crazy and then anything can be done to or about or around them, or they can be manipulated, always really spoke to me. And musically, Stevie Nicks just came to mind. I love Stevie Nicks. And I'd say musically, I'm a big fan of like the Grateful Dead and the whole scene that was around that, like very hippie scene and very like grassroots hippie scene.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I think the movie you mentioned, I haven't seen it, but I think that is still like, that mindset is still alive and well today. Like, let's put the women in the corner. They don't need to say anything. They don't need to do anything. This is how we perceive them. I'm definitely like one who feels that we as women should be more outspoken. We definitely should be saying what we want. We can go after anything that we want. And we shouldn't be labeled. We should be able to be and do and say whatever it is that we're thinking, and just unapologetically be who we are, and not what society thinks that we should be. So I'm gonna have to go back and I'm gonna have to watch that movie, because now that definitely like kind of struck a chord with me. Like, wait a minute, they lobotomized her. That's really
with
extreme.
An ice pick.
Yeah. So So I'm gonna have to go back and watch that. But that just kind of like hits home for even things that I've experienced in my life, just of what I was supposed to be, where I was supposed to be, how I was supposed to dress. My only occupation should have been a teacher. Maybe that was like what was expected of me, because that's what women did. That's how I grew up. My mom's like, women are teachers. That's what they do. Women wear skirts. They don't wear pants. Like, just things like that we think like, oh, that's those thoughts are so old school. Not really. I mean, I grew up in the 80s, so this is what's being taught to me. But yeah, that definitely resonates, hits home.
Even like with being an artist too, I'm much more further along in my career, so I don't get as much anymore. But when I was earlier in my career, I'd hear a lot of like, well, is that like a sustainable career choice? Like, do you know what you're doing? Like, aren't you going to like give up the dream eventually? Why don't you channel? And it's great too, because I love all different aspects of things. Like, I'm about to talk about like marketing and social media marketing and copywriting. In fact, I do a little bit of like copywriting and freelance writing on the side. But a lot of people would say, well, why don't you just like channel your creative energy and like go be a writer for someone else? Or why don't you channel your creative energy and like go write songs for someone else? And those are things that I'm starting to do anyway. But to have people go, oh, but being an artist is such a, there's no way that you are going to make it. There's no way that you can do what you want to do. And it's like, yeah, but like, what is the description of making it? Isn't the description of making it waking up and doing what I love every single day and being able to have a roof over my head doing so?
Right. Absolutely. And for all those naysayers, just prove them wrong. I mean, those are the people who may not go, past 10 steps in their life, right? Because they're always like, there's always the what if, and they project that on other people because they're afraid to step out there. So kudos to you for stepping out there and doing what it is that you love, and honing those multiple passions. Like we talked about, for sure. So I wanted to actually like switch a little bit and talk about your written work now.
Cool.
So tell us some of the things that you've written, plays, poetry, I think. Tell us a little bit more about that.
Okay, cool. So I've written 2 books. I'm working on my 3rd and my 4th one right now. The 2 books are mostly poetry. This is my first one. It's titled The Politics of, and then my name, Kendra Muecke. So it's kind of like The Politics of Kendra Muecke, but the title is The Politics of. This is over 300 pages of poems, 1-act plays, and essays. Maybe like there's like 3 essays in here or something. Oh, and original photography as well. So I mentioned I started writing poetry in high school at like age 14. A lot of these are from my original journals, just updated and edited just a little bit. And then I did original photography. I used to be super into photography when like Facebook just started, and that was really a great way to show my artsy nature. But I released this in 2017, and this was kind of one of those things where it just was like so natural to me. I'm like, oh, okay, great. I want to write a book. What do I write about? And I'm like, this is such a daunting task. And then I looked over and I have like this big barrel of all the journals that I've had kept for 10 years. And I'm like, oh, I should just start typing those up. And then it kind of just all fell into place wonderfully with that. And so this just kind of came naturally. And it was one of those things where it's like, I realized I could start taking some of my passions more seriously. And I knew it was there, but it was like a signifier of me actually starting to take those passions more seriously. So that came out in 2017. This is such a silly title. I've not changed, but I guess grown up or matured. I don't know. This was written from an interesting time in my life anyway, so it makes sense. It's called Project Non-Arc Operation Clown School. Yeah, right. This is from when I was going through like a huge spiritual metamorphosis as well. So, you know, we have to play into those aspects of ourselves, especially if it's something that's so crucial and immense and weird in our lives. So this is a 60-page, 13-part poem. It's a prose poem. No photography really in this one, but this is a really great read, and it's all cohesive. I wrote it like in a series of like 4 days or something like that. And then my 3rd book, obviously I don't have the copy yet because I'm working on it, but it's going to be poetry, song lyrics, and the song meanings behind it, maybe some short stories and stuff like that. And I'm also working on a memoir. But here's the thing with the memoir. I started writing it, gosh, like a year ago. I'm like 60 pages in, but my thinking on life, I feel like I've emotionally matured. So my voice as a writer has changed just since the pandemic started. I wrote like a few paragraphs. I wrote like a few pages before the pandemic. And then I went back in like May or something to pick up and start writing. I'm like, okay, great. I've been inside for 2 months. It's time to start working on the memoir. And then I get back to it and I reread the couple of pages and I'm like, whoa, I have grown up so much in 3 to 4 months just with having to face so many things going on in the world and realizing so many truths about that as well. So I'm working on the memoir, but the funny thing with that is like new stuff happens every day because it's writing about my life, but it's going.
Okay, cool.
The project is going.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I'm an author as well, so I totally identify with the what the heck did I just write here, or like this is not even like I'm like start over.
Right.
But yeah, so I'm working on a memoir as well. So that's going to be coming soon, but definitely I have like a few workbooks and things that I do with my coaching that I've written. But yeah, I can totally identify with the like, oh gosh, like what was I even thinking when I wrote this?
Yeah.
Or I'm still a completely different person, but you know, maybe even just honoring that and like making that be a chapter. This is the whatever part of my life, you know, the silly part of my life, or the spiritual journey part of my life, or the transformational part, whatever the case may be. But
yeah,
totally, I can definitely like see that, and like I definitely identify with that as well.
and I have to look at it as taking like little bites, because then when I'm like, okay, write the book, you got to write the book, just write a couple pages. Then I'm like, yeah, but a couple pages is like nothing compared to the 300 I really have to write. So I'll put it off another day and then another day. And then the next thing you know, I read it and I'm like, I read what I've written and I'm like, I'm a whole different person. But yeah, I like your idea of honoring that and just kind of maybe doing like a transition paragraph and then going into the next chapter and being like, this is what's new.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, and I mean, that way it's like not, I won't say wasted content, but you don't have to like throw it out, you know? it's kind of
Yeah.
like it's still a part of you. So just it's in the book.
Yeah. I mean, it was a part of me for years, the way that I was writing and thinking and stuff like that. And it probably is. It's just maybe a different phase.
Yeah, for sure. So tell us about the most difficult obstacle you feel like you faced thus far in your career.
Oh, in my career. So I'm going to name a few different obstacles. I'd say the biggest one is self-doubt and self-confidence, gaining self-confidence, self-worth, self-value, understanding my value, not looking to other people to validate. I would do this in relationships. Heck, I do it in friendships. I definitely do it in work, where I'd go, I did this. Am I good enough yet? And people would go, oh, that's so great. And then they'd move on with their life, or they'd read it and they'd go, I love it. And I would get so much validation from it. But I would just like weigh every single thing. And I'm like, I just wrote the song. Do you like it? I need some validation. I need you to tell me that I'm good enough. So that was one of the biggest things, is just being like, I love myself, self-love.
Yeah.
And caring about myself. Then there was the naysayers too, but I was always looking to other people for their opinion. So I'd go, oh, am I good enough? And they'd go, yeah, but have you thought about, doing this or doing that with your creativity? And then I'd be kind of like heartbroken, and I'd be like, oh no. But I was also looking to them to tell me who I am and to validate who I am. And then confidence of just being able to be like, okay, as a musician, I'm technically starting my own business, meaning I have to have costs going in. I have to pay for the instruments, the microphones, the recording time, or the lessons how to record, or the producer, or music video time, gas to the show, cables for the show. I want to play a show in Colorado, flights to the show. So a lot of investments. And when I first started, I had like this starry-eyed thing that I just thought, okay, I'm going to take my guitar down Hollywood Boulevard and someone's going to go, hello, miss, we would like to discover you today. And I'd go, oh my gosh, thank you so much. That's so great. Here's my Grammy. Thank you so much. But it's like, there's so much work that leads up to that. And there's so much investing in oneself first. So a lot of those, like staying up late with like a knot in my stomach of like, I just didn't realize I would be starting a business. And then now I have started a business. Now I have a few mentors that have helped me along the way and continue to guide me so gratefully, so wonderfully, and I'm really grateful for that. I've established myself as an LLC, so I'm incorporated. I'm seeking out ways to gain credit and bring about income so I can, blow the top off of this.
Yeah. So many things you said there. So self-love and confidence is definitely what we believe at, and Simply She, because that's like the foundation for like achieving your goals. You have to know who you are, and you have to have that confidence to be able to pursue what you want to pursue. Like line it all up and knock it all down. Right. And so if you're seeking that self-validation, seeking validation, I was there, like wanting people to say, you did a good job, or always like, okay, so like, is that good enough? Like, am I like professional enough? Am I worthy enough for this? I don't think I can stand next to these people or what have you. Definitely been through that. And then there was a huge mindset shift. Like once I just let all that go, and I was like, you know what? I am enough. Like I've done enough. I know enough. Not to say I don't have to learn anything else. That's not it. But just where you are, honoring where you are, and realizing that what you've done to get to this point is enough, and you are exactly where you're supposed to be. And that's like a huge shift in your mind, right? When you're wanting other people to say, you did a great job, or you're going to be this, or you're going to be that, looking for, like you said, that validation. But once you don't need it anymore, things kind of just take off. Everything starts to make sense, and you immediately, moving in the right direction. And having to put your bit, like coming to the realization, this is a business. I'm a business. I need an LLC. I need streams of income, ways to make money. I have to pay for my expenses. Like having the confidence to do all of that, is no small feat. You
Mm-hmm.
have to be really strong and grounded for yourself,
Mm-hmm.
to be able to do that, and then seek help, seek the right people, seek the mentors that you need to
Yeah.
be able to get to the next step and level up. So,
Yeah.
kudos to you for doing that. And I'm so glad that, you were able to build that self-confidence and like practice self-love, and then,
Yeah.
kind of put forth what you need to do and go after it, so
Yeah.
congrats on that. Cause that's, I think, a lot of what people struggle, especially women, we struggle with, like that
Mm-hmm.
aspect of actually getting the thing done. We'll dream about it every day, all day, but then when it goes to like execution, it's like, maybe not. So, or it's like
Right.
it's more conceptual that we execute and not actually being able to get it done, or it's like a abstract thing.
Or I
So
like wait for someone to arrive and be like, okay, here it is. Here are your dreams that you've been praying for too.
yeah,
Yeah, I'm still working through some of that, but I definitely am in action, in the fast lane, in the action lane too.
perfect. Well, life's a journey, and we learn something new every day, right? So
Mm-hmm.
continue to learn, continue to evolve, and I'm sure your career is going to be amazing.
Oh, thanks.
Um, so do you find it difficult to juggle all the things that you're doing? Like, how do you balance your time amongst all your projects and passions?
There are times it goes in waves and kind of like phases that it works for me, but I do get super busy and then I do rest a lot. So I'll be like super busy and I'll be super tapped in, plugged into everything, do on time, do on time, sending emails off, waking up, just working all day. And then I also travel to perform too. So it seems like I'll be working. This is actually just a phase I went through. I was working up until my single release campaign and my single release on August 27th. Then I went to go perform in Phoenix, Arizona and around Phoenix, Arizona for the single release show. And then when I got back to LA, I was just like, wow. And so it's like 1 to 2 weeks of recoup time, but I still have a bunch of other work going on. So then to keep up with it is I just have to be easy on myself and honest with my colleagues of saying, when I'm in the phase of just like working, I guess you could almost call it like a manic phase. When I'm in like one of those phases, I get as much work done as possible. I'm answering emails practically when the person sends it. And they're like, whoa, you're really speedy at responding. But then I have to be easy on myself when I'm in that phase where I'm like responding 2 to 3 days later. And I'm like, hey, thanks so much for your email. I've been working on the new album, and then answer their question too. So just to be easy on myself and to take to get plenty of rest and just say, you know what? I did my best.
Yep. That's what it's all about.
Yeah.
Because I'm juggling multiple things too, so I completely get it. You like feel compelled to like jump and like rush and get things done, but giving yourself grace and allowing yourself to be able to, okay, I have to get these things done. Let's prioritize what's the most important. Let's move down the line. And that's
Mm-hmm.
the best way to ensure that you don't drop anything, right? Because if you're
Mm-hmm.
like you
Mm-hmm.
said, like manic and like trying to just do everything, you're not going to be in your best state of mind. So giving yourself that grace
Right.
and making sure you take care of yourself is really important.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So tell us about any new projects maybe that you haven't mentioned that you're working on.
I actually have my third album coming out next Friday.
Oh,
I'm really
cool.
excited about it. I recorded it during quarantine at home. I was thinking about doing a studio recording, meaning in person, working with a producer, going to a studio here in LA somewhere. And then the world changed overnight. And so I was like, you know what? I'm just going to record it at home. I know how to record. I've got great equipment. I've got some friends that I can reach out to perform, to record their segments on. So I reached out to about 6 or 7 featured artists. I guess you could say they're the bunnies from all over the country. We've got some people from Texas, San Francisco, Colorado, and LA on the album. It's 15 tracks, 14 tracks of music, psychedelic folk. This one's definitely psychedelic folk for sure, or psychedelic rock. Then one spoken word track too. That comes out next Friday.
Cool. Well, definitely make sure when we go to drop your links, make sure you tell us where we can find that at, so we can go
Okay.
and take a listen.
Cool.
But now what I wanted to do is kind of see if there's anybody in the audience that had any questions or comments for Kendra at this time. So if you haven't been typing anything in, go ahead and type that into the comments, your questions. We'll give you a few minutes to do that. And while we're waiting for other folks, I do have another question. So,
cool.
So I know that COVID has like completely changed everybody's business model. Did you do any like virtual concerts, virtual like spoken word events? Like, how did you kind of maximize your time and talents during COVID?
It has been really interesting because I've always been super active on social media, and I was starting to live stream before COVID started. I did have like a tour or some shows booked along the California coast in April up to San Fran. So obviously that's been postponed and or canceled, depending on what lingo one wants to use. But basically I was just like, you know what, let me put all of this just online immediately. And then it became just what I do. So over since March, I've performed over 75 live streams.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
How's that been going?
It's been going really great. I have seen a significant improvement with the way that I connect with my music and the way that I play the guitar, the way that I sing, the way that I songwrite, because I've gotten to know my music so extensively. You know, I've been telling people like during this time, I would be driving all around LA, the LA region, SoCal, NorCal, Arizona to play bars, to play venues, to get the amount of experience that I've gotten by just live streaming at home. So it's been really beneficial, you know, cutting my teeth. Yeah, that's the phrase, cutting my teeth while getting to be at home and getting to perform even more because I don't have to account for the travel time or the rest time once I travel and then rest and then, you know, travel and booking and stuff like that. So that's cool. And I've been doing a lot of collaboration live streams with venues around the country. So then they share the live stream too. And there's been a lot of outreach that way. And I think, yeah, the biggest thing I want to drive home is just the quality of my playing has improved so much because I'm playing like all the time.
Cool. That sounds definitely really cool. So I don't see any questions or comments. So let's please drop your social handles and tell the listeners how they can reach you, how they can find you on social media, and also where we can listen to your new album that's coming out soon.
Sweet. So thanks so much for having me on the show today. This was really fun. My new album will be on all streaming platforms, Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube, wherever you stream music. Pandora, I do have to submit the album for Pandora, but I do have a Pandora station if you type in Kendra and the Bunnies. So just go to your platform wherever you listen to music and look up, Kendra and the Bunnies, and then I'll come up there. And I do have 2 albums out already, 2 singles, 2 remixes, whole album coming out next Friday, then another remix probably coming out maybe 2 to 3 weeks after the album. On Instagram and Twitter, I'm actually quite the tweeter. I am Ken Bunny, KenBunny, and I love Instagram. I love posting on Instagram. Any one of my followers can tell you that I post a lot. So if you'd like, come follow me over there. And on Facebook, I'm Kendra and the Bunnies Music.
Perfect. So guys, we've been listening to Kendra Muecke and her talk about her multiple passions. The title of this episode is Chronicles of a Multi-Passionista because she has so many things going on. And as you can tell, she's definitely doing all of them very well. She's got a nice balance to them. And that's like the word of the day or the phrase of this episode is balance and just having the courage to pursue whatever it is that you want to pursue and whatever makes you happy.
Yeah.
So for more information on Kendra and how to contact her and connect with her, you can also click on the link in the show notes for this episode. That they'll be posted at isimplishe.com/podcast. Again, that's isimplishe.com/podcast. And if you'd like to join a collective of women dedicated to being empowered and becoming the best version of themselves, you can join the She Army Facebook community. And the link for the She Army is also in the show notes. So, guys, I really hope that you found what we shared today to be helpful. And remember, you too can conquer if you slay hard every day. Thanks, guys. See you
Thanks.
later.